Hello, my name is Hal Roth and I'm Professor of Religious Studies at Brown and the Director of Contemplative Studies here. I'd like to welcome you to a short video about this rapidly developing field that our teaching and research here at Brown has helped to pioneer throughout the country. In this video, you will hear about our philosophy, our approach, our research, and about the present influence we have on our students and the future potential this field of contemplative studies has to significantly impact higher education in North America.
When you ask somebody on campus, what is contemplative studies, I think a lot of people don't immediately know what that means.
I guess I would probably define it as first-person inquiry into consciousness.
My definition of contemplative studies would be disciplined interiority.
A certain method of examining one's experience from the first person.
I see contemplative studies as the application of the basic neuroscientific principle of experience-dependent neuroplasticity. And that's a complicated way of saying you get good at what you practice. Whatever our students are doing over and over again is who they're becoming. It's our job as educators to help them have the skills to mold who they want to become.
We're not disembodied intellects. We are, in fact, embodied beings with an emotional life as well as a cognitive life.
And if we want our students to go forward in a healthy way, we have to address their whole person, their inner and outer lives.
There are ideas in older Buddhist texts that are scientific hypotheses about how perception and cognition work. They're really novel ideas, and they need to be tested, and they could actually help reduce suffering. What contemplative studies does is it brings together the people who study these scholarly traditions, brings them together with scientists using cutting-edge technology, and in that meeting, we are going to form new scientific hypotheses and develop new understandings of the world.
So what we do is we study human contemplative experience across culture and across time from humanistic, scientific, creative arts perspectives.
So the main tenet of contemplative studies that is distinct from a non-contemplative concentration would be this incorporation of first-person experience.
Throughout the university, and traditionally for over a century, study in the university and scientific study has been very much oriented towards what we would call a third-person approach. But it leaves out a very important balancing perspective, and that is the perspective of the experiencing subject. So in balancing third-person and first-person approaches to studying human contemplative experience, how do we go about doing that?
We study the practices in their cultural context from a third-person perspective in the same way you would in any religious studies class. But there's also this personal engagement with the practice and to say, what is this really about? One
of the principal ways is that we teach courses that have meditation labs, or med labs we call them. And in meditation labs, students will try out different meditation techniques that we're actually reading about in the seminars, in the weekly seminars.
It's similar to a lab in physics, where you can read about a molecule in a textbook, but until you see the way that a liquid interacts with another liquid because you poured them together and you smell the fumes and you see the result, you can't really understand. Or you understand something new. It just adds to the whole picture. It's similar in contemplative studies, but it has more to do with the mind. So you can learn about what these practices are said to do.
It's a skill that you get better at. It's like riding a bike or playing a piano. You actually get better at it in such a way that you can, it becomes very obvious after a while that this is what the material is talking about.
The type of techniques that students are learning to focus the attention, to develop concentration and some insight can also be applied in just about every walk of life.
Patience and kindness and compassion is no different than building any other kind of muscle. We can actually practice that and train that and have it be something that it's a skill that we can learn. That should be part of an educational system, or at least giving kids the option, this is how you could train this skill if you wanted to.
There's the religious studies pillar, and then I suppose there's also the science pillar. And when you start thinking about, okay, what are these mental states that are cultivated in meditation actually, what are they doing? Why are they like that? That sort of leads into like psychology or neuroscience.
And so contemplative scientists are people that are trained in the outer technologies like neuroscience. We have training in fMRI and EEG and all that, but we're also trained in the inner technologies which came from contemplative traditions. And those train us to be able to have this disciplined interiority that Tom was talking about, a systematic way of investigating what is a mind, what is a thought, what is an intention, what is scientific bias. Those are things that they're not irrelevant in science.
So the Britain Lab is a lab that studies the effects of meditation on all forms of psychological experience.
We compared students that take meditation labs to students that play music to students that dance. And all three of those trainings seem to increase attention. But there's a different quality of attention that seems to be cultivated by the meditation classes. Subjects who meditate, even just as part of a university class, it's changing the way they're processing information.
We're able to do our best learning and creating and relating to others when when our attention is sharp and when our minds are calm.
It's almost like we have a medication. It's not ethical for us to not be offering it to people. We know that mindfulness reduces stress and increases the ability to process information.
I knew that in medical school I wanted to do something with meditation. When I was researching different medical schools, Brown really stood out.
So Brown Med School has, I think there's 12 tracks within the scholarly concentration, one of which is Contemplative Studies.
What the scholarly concentration is about is giving people a platform for testing these ideas and thinking about how can contemplative practice be brought to medicine.
I first became interested because I came across an article in my biology studies that suggested long-term meditators have this, more efficient physiology. They're just less stressed out and almost, in a way, aged slower. I think the benefits are, massive. You can approach it from any angle you want. Some of my favorite studies are mindfulness practice can be as effective as SSRIs for depression, and then things reduces burnout in medical practitioners, which is the angle I've really been stressing. And burnout's a huge problem, not just for medical students, but practicing physicians as well.
So the project that I'm working on with Kathy Kerr is working on seeing how we can get medical residents, to use mindfulness during integrate it into their daily work in the clinic and the hospital. And the original idea behind this was to see whether by introducing mindfulness into their day, they could decrease diagnostic error.
When I found that stress was becoming unbearable, I would be able to slow things down, focus on my breath, try to adopt that value-neutral kind of perspective to my own internal processes. It helps calm me down when I'm going into a territory that's unknown or going into a territory in which I don't have a lot of experience. It's a reset button, almost.
If it could start something or trickle out and people could start integrating mindful moments into their day just to be more present with their patients, I think it would help them, and I think it would also have a lot of benefits for the patients.
So we think that this isn't just about some esoteric contemplative traditions. This is about helping people be better doctors. The success of contemplative studies is important for students, and it's important for our intellectual scientific understanding of the world.
The problems of our world today are never going to be solved by one discipline alone. It's going to have to be a team effort. It's going to have to be interdisciplinary.
I love the way the programs develop within the university, kind of branching out into all different fields. And it could be this very important kind of hub and offer a different perspective on traditional fields within the university.
We have artists, we have educators, we have neuroscientists, we have psychologists, we have people in the medical school. It's really a pretty amazing team effort.
I think it's very important that we have a contemplative studies concentration here at Brown. Having a more formal structure in place will ensure that more students have access to the concentration, and it'll ensure that the discipline continues to grow.
The Academy has always been fluid, has always been in a process of evolving. And I think what Contemplative Studies does is it offers new forms of integration in ways that really the Academy has been hungry for without the vocabulary to describe that hunger.
It's something that can be engaged in a whole host of aspects of life, as it has to do with being aware of your own experience as it's arising. It can instantly pertain to just about anything, especially those things that are of value to you, that deal with other people, that deal with relating to others, or things like creativity.
I think it's absolutely important to have it as part of a university education. It's changed my life entirely. Meditation is what I think is the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing I've learned in college.
Compassion is one of the most useful personal factors that people can sort of develop within college, as we sort of are encouraged to go out and sort of and change the world. I think that really developing a desire to really better the world and better the lives of others is one of the most important things that can be taught in college.
Helping our students cultivate compassion and awareness of other people's perspectives and lifestyles and suffering is just about the best thing we could do for our planet.
We hope that this short video has given you some sense of the field of contemplative studies as we've developed it here at Brown, and also given you a sense of the tremendous potential it has to bring together divergent academic disciplines like brain sciences, humanities, and creative arts to forge new synergistic vistas of research and teaching. Also a sense about how these approaches provide students access to a veritable toolkit of techniques for focusing attention and expanding awareness that will be valuable throughout their lives and will significantly contribute to their abilities to see themselves in the broader perspectives of community, environment, and world.